Well, welcome back. My name is Jim Kaseman, and we're talking about how to get to know God intimately. Quite a few sessions back, we talked about God's unique attributes, see why He does what He does. And then now we're talking about the moral attributes of God. And we see that these are attributes that you and I can have to some extent. In other words, love. Well, nobody can love like God does, but we're commanded to love like He does. And we can do all things with His power, of course. So we've talked about His love, we talked about His goodness, and now we're talking about God's mercy and His grace. And we looked at quite a few scriptures, and then we finally come to the place where we talked about my testimony and how God, and about God's mercy and His grace. We left off, of course, we talked about how I was alcoholic and drug supply cut off, and I had these thoughts of committing suicide, of hitting this bridge at as fast as the car would go with the pedal to the floor. And that's basically where we left off. I was taken from the accident. I was given up for dead. I was taken to the small hospital in the town of 1200. And they put everything together here with this face, and you can see some scars yet here. My jaw, they said, was completely broken in 3 places, hanging, and they wired that shut. And then the doctor said he's not going to live through the night. So the family was called together on that Sunday night. We left off then talking about how Monday morning came, and my dad decided to take me from this small hospital and transfer me to the capital city. Now, the doctor said, if you move him, he's going to die. My dad said, and I'm told this is what he said, I was not conscious. I was still unconscious. I didn't regain consciousness until several days later. And so he signed all the papers that he accepted the responsibility. In those years, of course, there was no ambulances like you see now. The local undertaker's hearse was the ambulance for the community. They would put a red light on top, and away you'd go. So my mother and a nurse rode with the hearse to take me on that 100-mile trip to the capital city. And but see, now here is, so I was given up for dead then, and I didn't regain consciousness till several days later. It would have been Wednesday, I believe. And I believe it was more like Thursday morning. And so then people would ask me later when I would share my testimony, did you see hell or did you see heaven? And I have to say, no, I didn't see hell and I never saw heaven. I was just unconscious. And for many years, that's all I could say. And then just maybe 2-3 years ago, maybe at the age of, I don't know, I have to guess now, 74 or 75, just a couple years ago or so, I was reading my Bible, like I do, and like we all do when we're born again and become believers. And I don't know how many times, I've read the Bible, because I've been in ministry since age, that was 21 when I tried to kill myself. I was 21 years old. And then I didn't end up getting saved until I was 29. And then didn't end up in the ministry till I was just a few years later. I was 29, maybe 31, 32 years old. Anyway, I was born in 72, entered the ministry in 75, so I guess I'd have been 33. And so I'm just reading my Bible. I've read my Bible many times since then. And then here, just a few years ago, I read this verse, which, how many times have I read Psalms 30? But then I get up to verse 3 of Psalms 30, and now we'll talk about God's mercy. I didn't go to hell, didn't go to heaven. I was unconscious. But they gave me up for dead. And it says here in verse 3, at the end of verse 3 of Psalms 30, for you have kept me alive that I should not go down to the pit. God kept me alive so I shouldn't go down to hell. Now you talk about the mercy of God. Justice demanded that I go to hell. And if I would have gone to hell, if I'd have had my way, February 9th, 1964, 11:05, Sunday morning. I've already been in hell now for over 56 years and no way out. And I'm on my way to the lake of fire. And all I can do is scream for eternity. All because of my stupidity, because of my selfishness, to satisfy my flesh. And many times at the expense of other people, I missed heaven. No way out. No second chance. Can't earn my way out. I'm stuck for eternity on my way to the lake of fire. Justice demanded I go to hell. And I think about that. Psalm 78, verse 40, 41, 42. The children of Israel forgot the power that delivered them, and they went back into pagan worship. And I remind myself of this every day, and I thank God for his mercy every day. And I don't ever want to forget the power that delivered me, February 64. God's mercy, I was spared what I deserved. I deserved to go to hell. But his mercy, he kept me alive. He used my father to get me to Bismarck, to a bigger hospital. He kept me alive. God kept me alive so that I should not go to hell. And that's a huge miracle. God's mercy in my life. And then I thank God every day, not only for his mercy and his grace throughout eternity. Every day I thank him for his grace. I say, Lord, it's because of your grace that I have had now over 56 years on this earth instead of under the earth in hell. I've received what I do not deserve, your grace. I don't deserve this. But now I've received over 56 years on this earth instead of under the earth. Time to receive you as my Lord and Master. Time to receive Kathleen as my perfect wife. I desire and lust after no other woman. I'm so thankful I have more time with her now at our age of 77. She's the same age I am. More time to be home. Do everything now with Zoom because of this pandemic, so I'm not traveling. And I can be kind of a helpmate to her, a kind of a caregiver. And she's an awesome woman. And I thank you for her, Father. I've got children. I've got grandchildren. I've got great-grandchildren. I got the family of AFCM and Jim Kaseman Ministries all over the world. I don't deserve this. Thank you for your grace, Father. And I'll be eternally thankful for your mercy and your grace throughout eternity. I'm a thankful. I tell that to God every day. I'm a thankful child of yours, Father. I have absolutely no complaints, not one. And then there's another part of that story. But then what happened then, I'm in the hospital for 2 months, all wired up. The only thing I can eat for 2 months is I can get through a straw. Well, my so-called friends smuggled alcohol into the hospital about the third week I was in the hospital. They would smuggle booze into the hospital, and of course I can get that through a straw. So I'm getting high again. You know, when I first woke up in the hospital, when I regained consciousness, I, of course, reached for the Gideon Bible. And I started to read it. I got about 1 or 2 pages, I think. I don't know. I couldn't understand the these and the thous, and I put the thing back in the drawer. So now I began to drink while I was still in the hospital. So finally, after 2 months, I was released from the hospital. And, of course, drinking like everything, just like I did before. And I continued to drink. Then from I see that I'm out of time, so maybe I should just pick up the thought later in the next session. Remind me to do that. Meanwhile, be blessed in everything you set your hands to do, and we will see you in the next session.